We'll start with introductions.
Alderman at Large, Kevin Studick.
Connie?
Connie Hillman, Finance Director.
Jennifer Bergman, City Administrator.
Tiffany Singline, Ward 3.
Scott Mason, Brainerd Public Utilities.
Chris Schubert, HR Director.
John Davis, Deputy Police Chief.
Gabe Johnson, Chair of the Committee. We've got 11 items tonight. None should take too long, I don't think. The first is ratify the hiring of 2022 interns and temporary employees. Chris.
Yes, so we have listed our employees that have received a conditional job offer and have successfully completed their background checks since our last meeting. So we are asking a motion to ratify the hiring of the 2022 summer temporary employees as presented on the attached listing.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. That brings us to item number 2. Accept resignation of the Community Service Officer. Deputy Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On April 14th, Community Service Officer Janie Ziegler submitted her letter of resignation, which was effective April 26th. This leaves our department now with 3 community service officers, one of which is still in Duluth attending college. We will have a CSO intern starting in mid-May. Recommendation is to accept Janie Ziegler's resignation with regret and authorize the fill-in that creates at a current rate of $16 per hour.
I move that we accept CSO Jeannie Ziegler's resignation with regret and authorize the filling of the vacancy at the current rate of $16 per hour.
And I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Ratify the hiring of CSO Officer Richard Berry.
So with that resignation, like I said, we are at 3 community service officers, and we conducted interviews, and we have hired Richard Berry, which had an effective start date of April 29th. So a recommendation is ratify the hiring of Richard Berry, starting at $16 an hour with that April 29th effective date.
And I so move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Next up, accept the retirement of water plant operator Lynn German. Scott.
Thank you. We have 5 operators at the water plant, and Lynn has decided to retire a little bit early on us. We're quite ready for it. He's going to wash windows full time, so we'd like to accept his retirement letter and then move forward with backfilling that position.
I move to accept the resignation of water plant operator Lynn German effective June 30th, 2022. Further, to authorize staff to backfill the position.
And I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. I have one question on it. And Scott, I don't know if it's you or if it's Chris or if it's Jennifer, but since the charter change where it's the BPU staff are employed by the city council, but recommendations for hires may come from the commission, like as a process-wise, are we just gonna have the commission and Chris work together to fill these positions, or just, since this is the first time we're doing it, what are we
I
doing?
guess we kind of have the same questions too, as how we do this. So
Procedurally, just questions on the process and how we move this forward now with that change to the charter.
Yeah, we're authorizing the backfilling. Who is doing the backfilling?
So what we've always done in the past is we have had Scott and I, for his positions, work on doing the advertising and the hiring process. The commission authorized us to backfill the position, and then we moved forward, and then we just let the commission know afterwards who we had hired. So the same situation here, that
So
the
it'll be
city
you
council-
working with Scott, the department head, and then just come to this committee,
Correct.
come to the commission, then to this committee potentially?
I believe we would still follow the guidance that the council gave us, that if it's between steps 1 and 4, that we have the authority to give a conditional job offer.
Yep.
And as long as it's within those steps and meets the qualifications, we can actually hire that person, and the council and the commission could ratify it, if the commission wants to ratify it, or if it's just an information item.
And this was on the commission agenda last week, and they did recommend both of these items that are on your agenda tonight to the Personnel and Finance Committee and the City Council.
So I think as a streamlining procedural moving forward, if we get recommendation from the commission to do something, I think putting it on the consent calendar and just, if the commission asks for it and it's a procedural retirement backfilling, I don't think it needs to come to this
Don't need to-
committee, does it?
don't need to-
Do you think
Streamline
that
it,
there
made it work.
should be a motion, just so that there's firm direction from?
Okay, we'll vote on this and then we'll add that motion. So does anybody have any other discussion on the retirement or backfilling of the water plant operator?
And is his last name pronounced Jermaine?
Yes.
Okay.
Jermaine.
Jermaine, just so that we have it correct.
Hey, Carrie. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Do you want to handle this now or the other two personnel moves?
I think we could probably talk about this at this point, as far as the commission, if they actually make a motion to recommend that it's done, that it would just go on consent. It's just part of that whole process, maybe?
Yeah, if the commission acts on a routine personnel issue, it goes straight to the consent calendar on the council. And
Like this, retirement and a backfill.
yeah, that's on the consent calendar. There's no need to discuss that.
The second one,
Reinstating a position, I think, would come in just so we can hear what the reasoning is and then probably say okay to it anyway, because we don't even know how to operate the water plant, but, yeah.
sounds good.
The only question I have is what happens if the commission doesn't meet before like this would come in and before the next council meeting? The council would just, or the PNF committee?
I think we put it on the PNF then, so a public body discusses it.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure we're fully on, all of us are on the same page. So if Lynn would have gave his resignation, like today, the commission doesn't meet for 3 more weeks. So the council meeting would be before that, so that it has to go to the PNF committee, so that they would make the full recommendation at that point,
Before the commission does.
before the commission.
And I talked to Tad about this a bit this weekend, and perhaps if you guys could send a recommendation on how this could be best streamlined, but perhaps you could even run it by your personnel committee that doesn't necessarily need to meet once a month and then get that in.
Okay.
Maybe that would work too. But we don't want to, we're not trying to drag things up, we're not trying to slow things down, cause delays in hiring employees.
And just for clarification then, if it's just a routine replacement of an existing position, that would just go on consent. If it is a position that is new or one that has not been filled, then you would like that to come to personnel advisory.
Yes.
Okay,
Routine position has already been approved by the BPU commission, right?
I think we gotta leave it open. I'm guessing you're shutting it.
So, you want that motion, so who, you want to best clarify what we just talked about, Tiffany?
I move that routine personnel matters, retirements, backfilling, etc., go to whichever body is meeting first, either the commission or PNF, to then be added to the consent calendar.
Okay, I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to go to whatever committee's meeting next, and if it's the PUC, their recommendation will end up on the consent.
calendar, yeah.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, we don't need to have 3 extra agenda items
No.
when it's just routine stuff that we should be moving through, yeah. Any other discussion?
We do need to vote.
We do need to vote. That's the only discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Next up is to consider the reinstatement of vacant water plant relief operator laborer position.
Okay, so this goes back to, I think it was 2013, we had this position. This position would kind of float around and fill in for vacations and whatnot at the water plant. 2013-ish, water supervisor Darwin Cole retired, and instead of refilling that position, we decided that we could make a crew, a chief operator down there who would kind of be in control of the water plant. And then I would just handle the distribution crew. So we didn't fill the relief operator. We were gonna do this when Lynn retired, we were gonna take a little more time to look at it, but this one it's kind of not a hurry, but, so we looked at overtime spent down there for filling in for vacations, sick time and whatnot, and it's a steep number. And at the same time, there's a fair amount of stuff that's not getting done down there. The general maintenance is getting done down there, but the moving the plant forward is not getting done, that kind of stuff. There's some stuff with the summer crew, with the distribution crew, they're super busy in the summer, and that's when we can get to our gate valves and do maintenance on them, get to our hydrants and do maintenance on them. So some of that stuff is getting left behind also. So what we'd like to do is refill that position, so it would be a 6th operator down there. Their number 1 priority is to pick up vacations. And then in the meantime, when they're not filling in, they would work a day shift. So we'd have 3 people there during the day to get projects done. And then if the water crew out in the field needs them, it's a hydrant needs repair, he can go help them, or a street project. We gotta have a guy or 2 following the street project around, opening, closing down, and whatnot, so. We're looking for approval to start that process. Again, we need to, and Chris says in her memo here, that we need to get that pointed, and we need to deal with the union on that, so that's gonna.
Find out where it slots in on the grid in between
Yeah.
somewhere, yeah. Okay, so yeah, we're looking for 3 units of action. I think we can do all 3 in one. Chris, is that okay with you?
Yep.
You got it, Kevin?
You want me to read them all?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the attached water plant relief operator labor job description as presented by staff. Number 2, direct staff to submit the water plant relief operation labor job description to DDA to determine pay equality points. Number 3, to direct staff to begin wage negotiations with the IBEW Local 31 Brainerd Public Utilities Union for this position. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. And finally, for this department, we have a leave without pay.
Correct. So BPU Accountant 1, Chelsea Fisher, started for us last August, and she is ready to have her baby any day. With that, she has not met the typical FMLA requirements that she has to work for us 12 months before she is eligible for that leave. So the other option she has is for a personal leave of absence according to our employee policy manual. So we are asking that the council approve a personal leave of absence as requested by BPO Accountant 1 Chelsea Fisher that will begin on or around May 9th, whenever baby is ready, and that will last up to, but not longer than 12 weeks. And 12 weeks is the normal FMLA time.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Okay, thanks, Scott. If you guys have any ideas how to make this more efficient but still get it through all of the right votes.
Well, I think what we talked about for the first one is, that's gonna be 90% of the, if not 99% of the
Yeah.
situation, it's just refilling retirement.
Yep.
Would it be the same for, let's just say, labor applies for the water plant operator, and he gets the job?
Yeah, you give it to an internal hire and then backfill that.
So that's the same as a
straight to
retirement filling,
consent.
just a
Yeah.
generic refilling, okay, perfect.
You going upstairs too, or not?
You don't need
Oh, he's got a wild game again.
No, we don't. We need you, but not up there.
Gotcha, thank you.
See you later.
Okay, that brings us to the next item, which is an update on the city engineer, public works director hiring process.
So our work group for the city engineer public works position had talked about this position at the same time when we talked about the community development director. So what we did at the last meeting is we approved a revised job description. So at this point, we are asking for you to approve a new position profile and hiring timeline, and then also to designate council members O'Day and Johnson to serve as council representatives on this panel. And I see
Whoops,
I
that's
forgot-
community development
Yep.
still, yeah.
As you can tell, I cut and pasted. Sorry. So please correct that for me, thank you.
Your turn.
I move to approve the attached city engineer, public works director position profile and hiring timeline, and to designate council members O'Day and Johnson to serve as council representatives on the city engineer, public works director interview panel.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Next up is consider proposal to provide professional engineering services from WSB.
So, as you know, you just approved the hiring process for the city engineer, public works director. And there will be a gap then between May 6th and when we hire a new city engineer. We need a city engineer because any project plans, specs, assessments, feasibility reports, etc., need to be signed off by a city engineer. So we did reach out to SEH, WIDSEF, and WSB. Thank you, Gabe, for the recommendation to do so. And we both SEH and Woodset did decline, they just didn't have the capacity right now to have a city engineer available for the city of Brainerd. However, we did get a response or a proposal from WSB. Basically, the proposal would be that Paul, they would appoint Paul as our city engineer, and he would be here in the office for 16 hours a week on the weeks where council packets go out. Then he would attend city council meetings, and then he would be available for 4 hours a week on council meeting weeks. They're proposing to a fee of $3,600 for the month of May, which is prorated, and then $4,800 a month between now and the end of August. So the total for that is $18,000. It's not budgeted, however, the city budgeted approximately $47,000 in that same time period for Paul's position, wages plus benefits.
Excellent.
I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to authorize staff to enter an agreement with WSB for professional engineering services for an interim city engineer for an amount not to exceed $18,000. Any other discussion? If we start getting above that, we just have to come back and act again if our timeline starts running long.
That's right.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Next up, the school resource officer.
So the school resource officer contract actually ended, the current one ended, but yet it continued on at the end of the last school year. And so we've been in negotiations with the school district, and we redid the contract, clarified some language of who gets to authorize what and that kind of stuff. As well as the city did it based on the average budget for the police department. So it included the chief, the deputy chief, and then all of the officers. And to get us more in line with our actual cost. And so it was an 11% increase, which also caused some back and forth as well. The school district approved the contract as presented at their April 28th meeting as well.
I saw that. They just had money laying around in the school resource officer fund.
Imagine that.
We cut ours.
We got a little bump.
So the motion is to authorize signatures to enter into this proposed school resource officer service agreement between the city of Brainerd and independent school district number 181.
I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Here we have a consideration of a deferred assessment for 2022 and discussion of our current policy.
Correct. So we received a notice from Mr. and Mr. Segura, I do believe Stegora is how you say it. Mr. Stegora is a disabled vet and therefore receives a market value exclusion for veterans with disability and doesn't have to pay property taxes. He did not realize though that that exclusion did not cover assessments. And so he did not realize that he needed to apply for deferment back in October or November. We talked to the county, was it too late? They said we could get it in prior to this, so we're trying to get it in before the first half property taxes are due on May 15th. We did get a letter from the county saying that he was by virtue of total permanent disability, so staff used that as the notice instead of a doctor's note. But I think that this did bring up several questions about our resolution that we have for deferment, such as it has to be in by August 15th, but we don't even have the current year assessments calculated by that point, so I think we should change the date. Then also if they are, the staff looked at state statute and the statute has a deferment allowance for active military. Would that be something the council would want to consider? Could a partial veteran disability rating also fall under our policies? Just
Yes,
several
yes.
questions. So we'll bring back the policy at a future council meeting.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want, if somebody's overseas fighting for their country, we don't want to sting them on taxes and late fees and stuff. So let's give those deferments and pretty much what we can to work with our citizens who are in a situation where they need extra time to pay or don't have the means to pay it all up front.
And being in conformity with other folks' definitions of everything.
Yes.
The state
They went through the state thing, now they got to go through a different, yeah, that's a good point.
And I think the state too says that 65 years of age or older, well, I think we want there to be a financial hardship is more what ours reads than just being 65. So I think to clear that all up, and then also I think just because our values have increased significantly over the last 2 years, we need to look at the value as well. So we will bring back the policy to discuss at a future council meeting. So the recommended action is to approve the assessment payable for 2022 for the applicant and PID, and to provide direction and input to staff on the current resolution establishing criteria for deferment, and we will bring that back at a future.
So I think the motion is just to approve the deferred assessment for that PID, and you've got enough direction to come back
I
in a
think
couple
so.
weeks with.
And if you guys don't like it, then we change it then.
Yeah, present what you're changing or what other options would be then, but I think pretty basically follow the state. Let's not take, screw over the veterans and
Yeah.
whatnot. Yeah.
And I think too
Except for the American Legion, can we increase their taxes? Ouch.
the other thing is that our language is all in our charter, and I think it would be better to say that yes, we're gonna do a deferment, but it's gonna be set by resolution, rather than having all that language reiterated in our charter.
Yep,
So
love
that's
it.
another thing too, so.
Yep, we know the charter is easy to change and very easy to understand once it is changed, so let's do that.
Yeah, right. I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, to approve the deferred assessment payable in 2022 for applicant PID 412-50875. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Update on the request of
No.
funds to be returned from Lakes Area Media Collaborative. Connie, what's the update?
No update.
When should we send it? Should we wait a whole year to send them a second letter?
I would. If they haven't responded now, they're not gonna.
Well, we keep
Maybe
it.
the letter got lost in the
Yeah.
mail.
Maybe.
We're adjourned?
We're adjourned. Let's